Justin, what's going
Justin.
on, brother?
Hey guys, can you hear me okay?
We can hear you great. Right now, we're just going
Oh.
back and stalking your
Yeah,
Wikipedia here.
Yeah, what's going on here? Okay,
don't
interesting.
don't mind us looking on your Wikipedia, but no, man, we've heard some of the spaces that you've been on, and I think people like have heard of Zynga, but we wanted to give them the context and the scale of what it was like to be in mobile gaming back then.
Okay, yeah.
Did-
I I can speak to that for sure.
Yeah, please.
Well, so it was different. That's the number one thing. So Zynga started as a social gaming company, not a mobile gaming company. So it's a little bit tricky to remember, but 2007, mobile phones sucked. So we were building for Facebook desktop, and we were building these games. They were built in the browser, and so anybody could just go without downloading an app. And we used Facebook's API so that you could instantly play games with your friends. It was super frictionless. It was cool. Like you showed up at a poker table, friends could see where you were. They could get notified you were there. They could drop right in without any install. So that was kind of it was completely brand new at the time. And at one point, a couple months in, we said like, what if we just let people buy these poker chips? And actually, the reason that we did that is funny. People started selling them without us because poker is no
Wow.
limit. Our poker is a no limit poker, right? And so it's possible to just lose on purpose, bet everything you have, and then lose on purpose. And that's a way to transfer the chips. And so some people that will remain unnamed, who are now extremely large Bitcoin whales, that were also farming World of Warcraft gold, started coming into our game, and they started farming these chips, and then they started selling them on eBay. And we realized like, why are we letting them sell these chips on eBay if we could just sell these directly and we can print chips, right? So we had to shut down all the sales on eBay. Those people went on to be like, some of the biggest whales in Bitcoin. And then we started realizing people are willing to pay for this. So it was almost like an accident. I mean, we knew it was happening in like very few parts of the world, like Asia. There was a couple games that were starting to do microtransactions, but in the US there was nothing. In the West there was really nothing. And so this idea of selling poker chips was kind of ridiculous. But then the people who were playing the game, they loved it. Like everybody was like, wow, this is so great. Like I can spend $5 and get a bunch of chips. I love this. So that's kind of what kicked off this whole thing is people wanted to play games with their friends. They couldn't do that easily. And now like we could have this new business model where we were actually selling them stuff directly. So we just went and ran with it over the next few years. Then, iPhone came out, the whole world changed. We had to figure out how to make that transition, which took some time, but eventually Zynga became the world's largest mobile game developer too. But it was actually kind of like two separate eras. The social gaming era was kind of like a shorter lived era, maybe 3 or 4 years on desktop before the mobile phones kind of like totally took over. And then Facebook's usage moved to mobile. And so Apple killed Facebook's
Yeah.
mobile gaming platform, and then it all became the App Store.
Yeah, and that's crazy that kind of people saw the digital currency potential before maybe they, really knew about Bitcoin or whatever and was kind of transacting. I know there's some other MMO games that people were, like World of Warcraft, they're experimenting with currencies. So this, theme has kind of been part of it. In terms of like you starting that business, like, assuming at one point you had 0 users and then the next day you
Yeah.
wake up and did you have 2 users and then it kind of snowballed? Like at what moment did you realize like, holy shit, Zynga's like the next big thing?
Well, so when we started the company, I was on my freshman summer break in university. And so I didn't like drop out of school right away. I was 19, and we were just building the poker thing. And, college students love poker. So like it's not like we knew
Saved me
immediately.
second year university, man. Honestly, that's what I was saying pre-show is this product saved me second year university.
Oh, really? Okay. That's
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, actually, the funny thing is like because I was in university and poker was so popular in university, it was kind of obvious that we should start with poker. So it's not like we're like, oh, we're gonna build a new way to make games, and that's not how the company was pitched at first. It was like we're really excited about social networking APIs. Everybody's background at the company is in tech and social networking. My co-founders, everybody on the team, we were not games people, and the games people thought we were fucking ridiculous. Okay, like there's nobody that thought this was interesting. It was sacrilegious to go and be building these weird games on Facebook. And it took years for us to get those people on board and for them to see the proof to get excited about it. So yeah, I mean, we got excited about poker because college kids love poker, and college was most of the users on Facebook at the time. They'd barely opened up outside of universities at that point. So it was just kind of an obvious thing. And then once we realized how to make it work, we were like, oh, okay, wow. Wow, we just like found this little secret that nobody knows yet, which is we can distribute these games and we can sell the currency in them. And no one knows how to do this. Like literally no one even knows it exists. We're processing our own credit card payments. Even Facebook doesn't know how much money we're making. They just see this little poker site. They think that it probably doesn't work. And they didn't plan on games being a thing. Facebook platform was built for social utility apps. Like Zuckerberg got on stage in 2007, he demoed social calendar, like all these, what you'd imagine social apps to be. He didn't even mention games. Like it wasn't even a thing. And then games ended up being all that mattered, right? So it was a surprise, and then we just ran with it because we thought, like, this is huge. This is something you could redo. Every great game that's ever been built can be redesigned around a virtual economy where you're free at the start. And it turns out like it's not easy. Like we had to learn a lot of stuff along the way, and we shipped dozens of games every year to kind of figure it out until we had these many big hits. But yeah, it was just such a fun time to be creating in games because everything was up for change.
Am I somewhat correct in saying you're kind of bringing this exact playbook here and moving it to a little bit of a more advanced version on chain with OG protocol?
Yeah, so let me just give a quick overview on what Open Game Protocol is. So Open Game Protocol is my new project, and it's a kind of an acknowledgement that crypto in games, everybody's been maybe more excited about this category than almost any other category, and yet maybe people are at like all-time lows in terms of how they feel about it right now. And we try to ask ourselves, like, why is that? Why is it that there's 3 billion daily active users playing games? It's like almost half of the world's population that could even play games are playing them, maybe even more than half that could play it. And we know it's this massive onboarding opportunity, and yet it's not working. And it reminds me, like you said, of the beginning of what happened with freemium, where if you just took a console game and you just shoved it in the web page, you would get 0 users. Like it would not work. You needed to redesign everything to be made for being a free game as a service, which meant that all these amazing game designers, amazing game companies who started getting an idea of what we were doing came in, and their approach was to say, we're Electronic Arts, we're this company, we know how to make games. You guys suck at making games. You're doing it all wrong. I'm not going to learn from what's working here. I'm just going to stick our game in this page and put an invite button on the top and then wonder why we're not getting any users and you guys are running away with it. And you have to be like a student of the market. You got to look at what's working and then also be brutally honest, right? You got to look at what's not working. So what's not working about GameFi right now? It's a similar problem. It's like a bunch of mobile game companies are coming in and they're like, you know what, virtual currency, virtual items, we've been doing that for 15 years. Fuck off. We're making tens of millions or tens of billions of dollars a year. And now we're going to do it on crypto. Get out of the way, you crypto people. You have no idea what you're doing. That's kind of the attitude of most of the GameFi founders. And I don't mean it's like, and I include myself in that, right? Like, even when we first got involved in this space, we looked at what was going on and we were like, come on, like, how hard can it be? Which is every good founder, like that's one of their core beliefs, right? Like, how hard can it be? And then 3 years later, they're still working on something. So I feel like what happened was just an arrogance as an industry because we've been so successful without crypto and it looks so similar to what we were doing that we assume the solution should be the same thing. We're like, yeah, these crypto teams, they don't know how to make a game. I'll come in. I've made games. I made billions of dollars. Like, I'm going to figure it out. It's going to be no problem. I think the problem is that by mapping virtual currencies to cryptocurrencies and by matching virtual items to NFTs and doing the same design, it's actually too similar. Like, we're not taking advantage of what crypto is good at. And we're not thinking about the customers. Like, who are the players? What do they want? Who are the traders? What do they want? Who are the communities? What do they want? Instead, we just jump straight to the solution. We just assume it's called like skeuomorphic, right? You take the design of the last thing, you just apply it to the new thing. But it turns out we probably need something really different. And I think people have been humbled enough, myself included, that now it's like, well, look, like no one's going to buy your NFTs for $20 million for you to go build a game for 2 years anymore. Like, you better figure out something that actually works. You better figure out something sustainable. And so I started asking myself, what works in crypto? What works is communities, right? What works is tokens. And then I said, well, how can I make these things even better? Like, how can I take what works and make it stronger rather than trying to pull people in this direction of freemium games? And our solution is pretty simple. Like, basically, it's almost so simple that it sounds trivial and stupid. So we think it's crazy that you can't reward a token that already exists inside of your game same day. Like, that should be possible. If you've built a great game and you want to reward some GigaChad when people play your game and score some points, that should take you less than a day to do. and it doesn't. And that's like a simple fact that's kind of crazy when you think about it. We're like 7-8 years into this thing when it comes to, you know, more advanced smart contracts and sort of GameFi and whatever. And no one has just said, wait, what about the people who want to reward Trump token? What about the people who want to reward Giga? What about the people who want to reward Pepe? How do they do that? Like, what is the one line API that they can just integrate and that happens? And so that's what we're doing.
Just to clarify, so I'm understanding, when you mean reward someone, do you mean like I have a game, I want to give people 1 cent of whatever my token is, and they don't have crypto wallets yet? Like, are we talking like that, or are we talking?
Yeah, so I don't mean that. I mean tokens that you already know, because let's say Trump token. Trump token has like around 700,000 holders, okay? But the amount of people that know Trump token exists is like hundreds of millions of people, okay? And they would be motivated to play a game if they could earn some Trump token, right? They would if they could. And the game developer knows that those people would be motivated to play the game if they could earn some Trump token. So we know that there's hundreds of millions of people that have heard of Trump token and would think it'd be great to earn even a tiny piece of it if they could earn it by playing a game. And we know that game developers want users, so they'd love to have those hundreds of millions of people playing their game to earn the token. And yet we can't do it. There's no like simple API to just reward some Trump token in your game. Forget about your own token, forgetting about creating your own game economy, ignore all that stuff. And so we built an SDK to make it so that you can, within minutes, depending on how complex your game is, just reward some token. Oh, you could take your Web 2 game, and of course it abstracts all the wallets and stuff. That's stuff that was all built a year or 2 years ago now, right? Like all that infra is good now. So part of the reason we're building this now is because it's possible to give people that simple experience with things like Privy and wallet abstraction and all this other stuff. Now we can build an experience that a random person like in the Midwest who loves Trump can play a simple game and earn some Trump token. It maybe wouldn't have been possible 2 or 3 years ago. So we take that idea and we take it to the full extent, though. We're not just saying, let's build an API and now you go buy the Trump coin. We're saying, wait a second, the people who hold Trump are actually going to benefit a lot if we can figure out a way to distribute these tokens to these people. So what could we do to incentivize them to create the reward pools that would pay the game creators for making these Trump games or fart coin games and pay the players the fart coin? What if these token communities were so incentivized to do that they were excited to do it, and then every day there was a bounty for creating fart coin games? So what we do is...
Can I ask this real quick? Because I'm trying to break these things down. One of the core problems you've solved is people want things like Trump token. They don't want Josh's game token. They don't know what Josh's game token is. So you've solved the recognizable problem to normal people. And then the second thing you also did is existing Trump holders might have a financial incentive or an awareness incentive to say, hey, we want people to own our token from our community. Do I understand that correctly?
Yes. And a marketing lever, because if you think about it, how do you market one of these tokens? We bull post, we post some memes, but there's every form of media, video, streaming, podcast, images, text. None of it lets you get a token at the end. So what makes games unique is they're the only form of media where I can then reward you the token itself after you experience it. So that's why it's more powerful than a meme. Imagine there's a meme game for Fartcoin that goes viral, and at the end of it, people are earning Fartcoin. We could 10x the holder base of Fartcoin. Maybe they're not like diamond hand whales that are going to own $1 billion of Fartcoin. It doesn't matter. Like if we 10x the holder base of Fartcoin, the narrative for Fartcoin is going to be much, much stronger. Like you're going to start hitting mainstream news in a way that you've never hit it before. This becomes a decentralized token that everybody's using and they've heard of, not just this sort of crypto joke, right? And so
Justin,
that's the opportunity.
I hate to butt in here, but at some point, my token then would not be restricted to one game, right? So let's say I'm an indie dev. I want to get an automatic community of Trump holders, we'll say. So now I say, hey, Trump holders, I have this indie game out I've created. You guys can earn Trump by playing my game. Let's say another game also comes on board and says, we also want the Trump community to be able to earn by playing our game. Can you then have multiple games earning Trump token? Or is it limited to one?
Yes, that's what we built. So this is what's so cool about this. Now, who wasn't I talking about yet? The traders, like what's in it for them? So if you own Fartcoin, okay, and you want to launch this Fartcoin game ecosystem, well, then we want that to be a community launch where the Fartcoin community are the main people who can get the upside, right? So the Fartcoin community comes to the protocol. They stake their Fartcoin to say that they want to launch the Fartcoin game coin. When enough of the Fartcoin is staked, then a Fartcoin game coin launches. There is only ever one fart coin game coin. This is not like a meme coin that comes and goes, and no one can launch another one. There's one fart coin game coin. And if you're a left curve trader and you think fart coin games could be a big thing, you should just buy that token, because that is where the value accrues in the fart coin game ecosystem. But the cool thing is, whenever there's trading on that fart coin game coin, the trading fees are going into the reward treasury that pays the game developers for building fart coin games every day, and it pays the players of those games. So we're speculating on the size of the game ecosystem for Farcoin, but we're paying the people who are going to make it true. I call this hyperstition. So crypto is programmable hyperstition. What do I mean by that? Hyperstition means the more people believe something, the more it becomes true. So you think about Bitcoin, okay? Bitcoin, the more we believe it, the more it becomes true. The libertarians who bought it when it was, a penny or whatever, they were more wrong than the people who bought it today. They weren't more right. They were more wrong, because so few people believed in it that objectively they were incorrect. Now, in a long-term view, maybe you could say they were correct. But the fact is, like, what makes Bitcoin true is that we all agree that it's true. And the more that we agree it's true, the more the price goes up. And when the price goes up, the ecosystem is built, because the miners get paid more, which means that there's electricity investments and there's FPGAs that get built to go into the mining. There's companies that consult on the Bitcoin and the custody. There's events. An entire ecosystem gets built around this thing that scaffolds it and actually makes it more real, because so many people have shared investment in infrastructure around Bitcoin now that it's actually become true. And there's layers of the onion. First, it was the crazy libertarians, and now we're on Wall Street is kind of the next layer of the onion. But there's another layer, and we know it's like world government treasury. And then maybe at some point it's just like base level global currency everybody has. Like, maybe we don't use it for our coffee, but we use it for all the value transfer, right? You can see the layers of the onions over the years. Game coins, the way we've constructed them, is the more that people believe in this, that flywheel will create more money for game creators to build Fartcoin games. So if you believe in Fartcoin games, you should buy the Fartcoin game coin. The more developers that create Fartcoin games, the more that game coin's probably going to be valued at, because now this ecosystem is more real. And the more that people pump the token, the more money goes back to the game creators and to the players, which means more users and more games. This is a hyperstitious flywheel. So I think this is what separates a good crypto token from a great crypto token. When you take speculation and you turn it into reality, that is a great set of tokenomics. When speculation is just a number that doesn't really lead to a new reality, then you get disappointment. You get to these tops where people are like, oh, this isn't what we thought it would be. It turns out this token didn't lead to being on a billboard or whatever their expectation was. Never mind. But in this, it's programmatically included, like Bitcoin's mining. It's going to pay these game creators to make the game. So the more we believe it's true, the more it will become true. That's what we've set out to do.
Dude, this is clicking all of a sudden, because I've been listening to a couple of things that I've been covering OG protocol, and I was like, I don't know if I get it, but this clicked, and I think it's great. Are you building for existing game developers? You mentioned there's like 100K games out there. They're some of them are good, but they're not getting discoverability. They dropped your SDK in, and now all of a sudden they can choose whatever community they want to integrate, the G token or the G Fartcoin, the G Trump, et cetera.
Yeah, that is exactly what we're doing. So we're acknowledging that there's the gaming ecosystem is so fragmented. It's basically like you have games being created in 100 different engines for 100 different platforms, and there's good content everywhere. And so our job is to be this very thin layer to reward tokens, period. We're not a game portal. You're not going to go to our site to play these games. That's not what we're doing. You're going to our site when you buy this game coin, a Fartcoin game coin, for example. What the Fartcoin game coin utility is you can stake it against the games in the Fartcoin game ecosystem to determine how much rewards each of them gets. So as a speculator or a trader, you don't need to play any of these games. That's fine. You're going to earn a yield from staking against the different games you think are the best. So you're almost like a game publisher. You're like, well, I've got good taste and I've got bags in Fartcoin game coin. I want to control which games get the most rewards. I played some of them. I think this one's the best. I'm going to get my staking against this Fartcoin game so that it gets more rewards, that developer gets paid more, and those players get paid more. Now, the game developers, of course, can buy Fartcoin game coin too. And if they want to get more rewards for their players and in turn more distribution, of course they can do that. So this isn't some crazy trader Ponzi. Actually, there's $65 billion a year spent on game marketing on mobile. And this becomes a new customer acquisition channel where not only can they earn some free money because people like their game and they support them and share some of the yield with them because they're supporting them, But also, if they want to get really serious about this, maybe they had a $5 million marketing budget, which is like common for a lot of these mobile game companies, and they instead stick $1 million into Farcoin Gamecoin and stake it against their own game as a way of getting yield while getting more users. How do we get more users? One really interesting insight here is like everything in crypto revolves around tokens, and especially the top tokens, right? And these tokens have these verbs. You go into a wallet and you have buy, sell, swap, stake, earn, whatever. Now you have a play button. We built an API so that wallet partners can integrate a play button for any token. So you can literally go to Fartcoin and tap play, and you're getting Fartcoin games built into the wallet. Once you see this, it's so obvious that it should exist that you'll never be able to unsee it, okay? And it's only made possible because we're building this layer. So ultimately, the long-term play here is like we're building a community-owned distribution and reward layer for this. Like you can think of us like what Hyperliquid is. You know, Hyperliquid has these builder codes. They let Axiom trading interface and others integrate, and they take a trading fee on top, and they use Hyperliquid's trading stack. Like we are doing this for game rewards, and then letting you distribute these games across many surfaces. So the wallets, if they add a play button, they're going to earn tokens too from providing this distribution to all these games. But the cool part is anybody can distribute these games, and anybody can get paid for distributing these games. So in the long run, this network grows, and we build an alternative to the ad networks and to the app stores.
Dude, that's amazing. We had actually the founder of Cities on who worked at
Anshul.
Zynga. Yeah. What's the relationship there between you two? I mean, obviously maybe you know each other, but
yeah, I mean, we've known each other for a long time. We of course like met back in San Francisco a long time ago. So yeah, I've been keeping in touch over the years, and like he's been worked on a lot of cool stuff. And now we're both in crypto, so that's really cool. A lot of people that were early at Zynga.
The first version of OG protocol integration, like is it going to be one of the first, or? And sorry, you can.
Yeah, he'll be one of the people who's integrating on launch. Yeah, we'll talk more about that and announce it soon. But yeah, he's excited about it, so we're excited to have him.
No, that's awesome. He's we had him on the show earlier. Great guy. I love his vision. It's just like Farmsville or the
City,
other.
is it Cityville? Yeah,
Cityville.
Yeah,
Cityville. Right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it kind of makes sense.
I opened it up. I was like, Dom, what does this remind you of?
So. I want to get back to the whole token process, because I think that's where people are getting tripped up. And so I want to go basically step by step and break it down and make it really easy to understand. So you find a community, we'll call it Fartcoin. You find a big community of Fartcoin. You then pair them with well, you don't pair them, but a game will choose to use this community as like an underlying community to play their game, whether it be an indie dev or already pre-existing popular game. And they're like, hey, we're going to now create a Fartcoin Gamecoin. But in order to get the Fartcoin Gamecoin, you Fartcoin holders need to stake Fartcoin. Okay. So step one is Fartcoin holders stake Fartcoin. Yes.
Yeah. So that's pretty close, but it's not sequential in the sense that any community can start staking their token to launch their game coin whenever they want. It's permissionless. Okay. So someone can go stake, I don't know, $500,000 of Fartcoin. It's not enough to launch it because it's a big, expensive coin. We need more consensus than that. And other people can come, and there's a progress bar of how close it is to launching. Also, at any point, games can start saying, I'm going to build a Fartcoin game, and they can integrate it now. They don't need to wait for the game coin to launch. Okay. And people can start earning points in those games that later, reward Fartcoin right away. So there's not like any sort of sequential steps that happen here. Maybe the stakers get more excited because they see all these games showing up before it even launches, right? We didn't want to make this something where they're like, this A has to happen, so B can happen, so C can happen. Now, when there's enough Fartcoin staked and the game coin launches, the people who stake their Fartcoin are going to get a big chunk of it for free. Okay. But they're locked for a certain amount of time. It's like 30 days right now. We're going to see how that works for everybody. But the locks will be there's milestones on market caps where if you hit them, the locks can move in faster. So this Fartcoin Gamecoin community is now incentivized to actually go and make sure that everybody knows this Gamecoin launch, because there are market cap milestones where they get their unlock faster, right? We're trying to figure out what is the permissionless way to launch these from a community, because we're not launching these tokens. We just built the protocol to do it, so that like it gets the marketing support from the real community that it needs, and that it's seamless for a game developer. They just show up and they just put their game in. They don't need to go and like, figure out how to collaborate directly with everybody.
Okay, so stakers get a chunk of the G coin. Now, how does the game coin then derive value back to the original coin? close the
Okay,
loop
great.
there.
So yeah. So there are trading fees. You guys are probably familiar with Believe. You guys are the microcap show, right? So
Of course.
Believe has these trading fees going to a company, right? We have these trading fees getting split amongst all the games that are integrated with this token, but it's proportional to the amount of token, the game coin that's staked. Now there's a new staking thing. There's the game coin staking. And the game coin staking is a vote against all the games that you think deserve the most rewards. So basically the reward allocation every day, say there's $10,000 in rewards today. If one game has 50% of the staked game coins against it, it's getting half the rewards to the game developer, to the distributors of the game, to the players of the game. That'll be divided up amongst them too. Now the game gets to integrate points inside of their game however they want. So the part that's going to the players is totally up to the game dev. They can do whatever system they want. They can give it all to one person. If they want to do a point system like that, they can distribute it across any actions in the game. It's up to them.
Okay, cool. And so the fees that come from that, then the stakers vote on where that goes. The game dev decides which community gets the biggest share of it, and then that goes
Right.
towards buybacks of
Right.
the token, or
Right. That's the point. So like, here's what's interesting about this. The fees for the fart coin that we want to reward, the players want to earn fart coin, right? They don't want to earn fart coin game coin. They don't know what that is. So these fees are being swapped for the players for actual fart coin. So we can actually give you a play button on fart coin to earn fart coin. So that's the magic of this flywheel. Now the developers, the game creators, they want more Fartcoin Gamecoin because they want to restake it against their own game and have better control of the governance of the future of the Fartcoin Gamecoin ecosystem. So they don't really want to earn Fartcoin, right? So like different people want to earn different things. And then the traders who aren't making any games, they can just earn a yield every day because we pay stakers too. So the interesting thing about this is if you're bullish about Fartcoin Gamecoin, you can also just earn a yield every day by participating in the governance of these rewards.
okay, I'm tracking. Is there anywhere like are you gonna have docs with some visuals on this where people can
Yes.
kind of really dig
Yeah,
into
there's
it?
going to be tons of visuals and videos and docs that come out when we ship. We're just getting out there publicly now, as you've seen over like the last couple of days, and just kind of
Right.
telling the story. So yeah,
How do you simplify this to the average person? Is it just like once you
yeah,
do it, it kind of makes sense, or is it going to be this
yeah.
educational push?
So here's how you guys are sophisticated traders. Okay, so like it helps for you to understand all these things. Players don't need to understand any of this.
Right.
Okay, if you're a player, you hit a play button on Fartcoin inside of Ledger Wallet, and now you're playing Fartcoin game and you're earning Fartcoin. That's it. Game over. The end. It doesn't matter. Okay. Now the technology underneath is what enables all this. And for traders, all they need to know on the left curve side is if you're bullish on Fartcoin game ecosystem, go buy the game coin. Like just that's all my advice is to you is if you think this is going to be more games and a bigger thing than it is today, then go buy the Fartcoin game coin. That's all you need to know. Now, if you're a game creator, you don't even need to know how this stuff works at first. You can actually go just connect your game and see if the community likes it. And if the community likes it and they stake against your game, well, then you get more rewards. And so you'll try to build a game that you think the community will like. Like if you just put a random game on Fartcoin, maybe the Fartcoin game coin holders aren't going to be staking a bunch against your game. And so maybe you won't get as much free rewards. But if you build a game that's like the perfect vibe for Fartcoin, maybe everybody starts supporting your game and you're starting to earn a lot from doing that. So they don't need to understand how any of this stuff works either. And what's interesting to us is like a lot of the devs we have as partners for launch, we went out of our way to not talk to Web3 game developers at first because we knew that like we could educate Web3 game devs on this. The real test for me personally about whether or not I should bother to build this is can I convince a game developer in Pakistan who doesn't own any Bitcoin to implement this, and can he get excited about it? And the answer is yes. We've had those conversations a lot of times. They like crypto. They don't know how to do smart contract programming. They don't want any complexity in their game that makes anybody learn about how a wallet works at all. And this solves all those problems for them. They get exposure to rewarding their players with none of the legal headaches about launching their own token, none of the downside about their token going to zero, and none of the technical hurdles of implementing this stuff in the first place. So the game developer gets everything they want. They just want to get paid and they want users. That's it. Now, in the long run, so this isn't just some trader Ponzi, we need game developers who come in and buy these game coins and stake them against their own game so that demand can grow to the full 65 billion that's spent every year on mobile game marketing. And that's going to require going and finding the game companies that are more, adventurous in their marketing spend. But the truth is, for anyone in mobile games, and this is why we're a unique team, we know that people will move their marketing spend for a 10% savings on a cost of acquiring a player. And it turns out like they're not just getting a 10% savings from this system. They're getting paid to get players because they're going to buy a game coin. They're going to stake it against their own game. They're going to earn a yield while they get these rewards, and the players are going to earn. And the more they stake against their game, the more rewards there are for players, and the more they're going to be surfaced higher in these play buttons that can be distributed all around the internet. So actually, like, they're getting paid to get players on our platform. It's a no-brainer. We have to just go and educate some of these game companies that are, open to this, to moving some spend over. And once we prove that, like, the amount of downstream demand for these is probably higher than any other token in the entire crypto ecosystem. And so what I mean by that is, because we've been focused on virtual currencies become cryptocurrencies, we've been saying it's all about tokens as a form of payment. These people do not understand who makes the most money in games, okay? Apple takes 30% on payments in games in the App Store. Facebook, so they take 30 cents on a dollar, okay? Facebook takes 70 cents on the dollar, because if your game barely makes any profit, Facebook is where you do all of your marketing. So every single penny that you didn't lose to Apple, you go and you take it and you spend it back into marketing so you can make your game grow.
Exactly.
So the point is, like, everyone talks about revenue tokens, and they're like, oh, well, how are you guys going to have like some smart contract that buys back the revenue automatically? Facebook doesn't have an API that makes people spend $65 billion inside their ad ecosystem. They just have distribution. And so people shove $65 billion into it. The point here is, like, if we can provide distribution, this is the ultimate revenue token, because all this revenue that happens off chain will be reinvested into game coins if it's profitable to acquire these customers, that then those games can monetize however they want. We don't care. We're not a games publisher. We're not going to take a cut of your spending. We're not going to make you put the game coin inside the game. We're not going to take a cut of your advertising revenue. We're giving you new monetization, new distribution, where you can maybe even earn money while your game gets distributed. That's unmatched. It's a new product, right? So, like, I think that, like, the longer term play here, like, we're trying to build a 10-year plus thing, right? We had fun. Like, I built a lot of stuff at Zynga. We could probably go build a Ponzi game and make $3 million in a month or whatever. I'm not really interested in that. Like, the play here is Uniswap level plumbing for crypto. We want to build the goddamn play button for crypto. Like, it should already exist. It doesn't exist. We want to get all that money that's out there into crypto in a way that's good for game developers.
Do you have any wallets now that might integrate this out of the box?
Yes, we're going to announce them soon. Yep.
Wow.
My question to you then would be, what are the drawbacks for companies doing this? Like, why would they not do it? Would it be a legalities thing? Is there any legalities around implementing this that would kind of just make it difficult, or what are the drawbacks here?
That's a great question. Like, I've spent the last 9 months trying to eliminate every possible reason that they wouldn't want to do this. So, major ones,
angry
like
token holders, Adam. Like, there's so many
look,
things.
yeah, the difference is, like, look, none of these players are buying these tokens in the games. Like, they're just earning them for free, right? So, there are a lot of ways to design, like, your game and how people reward the tokens. Okay, so it's possible that, like, some game designs the integration of the way their players get rewarded tokens where the players don't like their implementation. But I don't think that, like, generally speaking, I don't think there's much downside, because here's what's interesting, right? Like, if you spend $1 million on Facebook, you spent $1 million on Facebook, like, for marketing. It's gone. You get the users and the $1 million is gone. If you spend $1 million on a game coin and you're like, okay, well, we're earning this yield, and then the token goes down 50%, like, that's kind of some downside, right? Let's be real. It's crypto. It's volatile.
Sure.
You give half your money back. You know what I mean? Like, you don't get half your money back from Facebook. You give them all of it. So I think, like, from a game developer's perspective, this is actually, like, really, really interesting. Now, another risk would be they don't get enough users, right? Like, so we have to grow this network so that it's not just like 10,000 farmers in one country that are playing these games. Like, they want depth. They want to be able to get to millions of users. So we really have to go wide. So for us, like, we had to figure out the incentives to make sure that these wallet providers are, even though they love this idea, by the way, even without getting paid, they're like, why? Yes, there should be a play button in our app because it gets us more engagement. It gets us more retention. People can do things in our app. They want it, but we're going to pay them, because distribution is the lifeblood of the internet. It's like how Google built their $1 trillion company. It's how Facebook built their $1 trillion company. Like, we're going to pay them. So a lot of people don't know this, but a lot of people know that Android is open source and free, and that all the different mobile manufacturers, they don't have to pay Google to use Android. But what a lot of people don't know is that Google pays all of those mobile companies to use Android. It's better than free. Okay. So this business model even exists outside of crypto. How do they do that? They pay them a revenue share on the searches that people do on Google devices when they tap an ad. So they're not just giving away an operating system for free on mobile. Microsoft was saying, hey, we'll charge you $5 or $10. It's not a lot, $5 or $10 per mobile phone. They didn't even say, hey, it's free. They said, you're literally going to get paid. And now there's estimates that, and because some of it's not all public, but some people say that like Google's paying like almost $50 billion to these types of deals where they've spread out Google search across more surfaces, but it's a revenue share. So of course they're happy to pay the 50 billion because it generated hundreds of billions for them, right? And so our perspective on this is like the wallet providers, the coin market caps of the world, all of these sites where crypto is already relevant, they don't want another bullshit ad on their website. Their users don't want another bullshit ad on their website. But users who are looking at a fart coin chart, who can play a fart coin game, it's going to feel like a service to have that play button there. And it's a service that the site will earn money from, or the wallet will earn money from. It's the best kind of ad, right? It's not an ad. We're not trying to build an ad network. We're trying to build a new utility that they actually want there. And yes, they should get paid for it.
So to help kind of maybe people understand this, I could be browsing on Deck Screener, search up Fartcoin, and you know, right under the watch list, right under where it says buy and sell, there could just be a big play button, and I could
yeah.
instantly start playing and earning the coin that I'm looking
Yep.
directly at.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
And does
now
that
Deck
direct you to
Screener,
a specific game, or would it direct you to like a catalog of games? Because you said
Yeah.
multiple games could implement Fartcoin.
Yes, great question. Okay, so and this is where we're getting into all these details and complexity that you guys care about, but like the player doesn't care about, right? They just hit play and they play the game and they're done. So it's like an ad network. Like we have no idea how complex the bidding systems are in the background. We just see an ad in between a post, and like we don't have to think about any of that. So yes, because the Fartcoin game coin has governance over where the rewards go, not every Fartcoin game is going to have the same amount of rewards. And so which ones should show up higher in the list? The ones with the most rewards, right? So you can think about this staking almost as like a bidding war to be the top slot, right? Like if you want to be the top slot for the game, then you want the most rewards. That's also good for players. They want to play the game with the most rewards. So everybody's incentives are aligned. So in other words, like we've got different ways it can be displayed. In fact, some of it is just up to the wallet, but we've built a few easy ways for them to do it, where they get a games list or a carousel that's kind of TikTok like, where people can swipe through the games and they can play, but they're in the order of the rewards, which means they're in the order of potentially like the games that the community thinks are the best to have, and that maybe like they've spent the most game coin themselves to stake it against their own game to get the best slot. So
kind of like a paywall or whatever that they have in mobile games now. It's like, get your 50 gems, but like go download this app or these apps. You know?
Yeah, download, or some of them are web-based, so you can play right inside this app, which I think is really, really interesting. Like I think web games are going to be, they obviously web mobile games have struggled compared to the App Store, but that's because they haven't had a good way to distribute. And if you think about how this works, like it's actually very, very good for distributing web games because you never have to leave your wallet, right? You're just playing the games right inside there.
Yeah, and plus crypto people get so touchy. I know this isn't necessarily geared towards just crypto people, but crypto people get so touchy about downloading things too. So that's that'd be really nice to have.
Exactly. Yep.
One question I had that kind of takes us back to, onboarding developers. How do you go and onboard the Epics, the EAs, et cetera, to integrate this?
It's a good question. I don't think we have to start with Epic and EA, but if there's one person who can get a meeting with them, it's probably me in crypto. So
Yeah.
at some point I probably will, but we got to crawl before we can walk. Okay, I'm painting a bigger picture for you. Like I don't think EA is onboarding this year. Okay, guys, like I don't want to squash anybody's dreams, but I also want to be realistic.
They're a private company
I'm excited
now,
about this.
so who knows?
Yeah. Well, look, I know some of the people involved with that. Like we can get in touch with them when the time is right. But I want to make sure that we have the product that those companies want. Okay. Those companies need to distribute their games to millions of users. So if you have $100 million ad, I used to work at the world's largest mobile game company. I started it. Like I know how we manage that spend. Okay. We couldn't take $100 million marketing budget for the year. And if say that we can only access 1 million users on this protocol, well, then we can't move all of our spend to it, right? We can only move a really small part of our spend. And if it's only a real small part of our spend, then I'm probably worried about how I go get all these other users. So we have to grow to get to the scale where those guys are like, oh yeah, like we want to put a big chunk of our spend in this and not just like an experimental slice, right? But there are some companies who will go all in on this because startups are struggling to get users, and they're fighting the ad channels against these companies that have infinite money, and they can't afford to win on the bidding on Facebook or Google. So what we got to do is go find the early adopters who are like, hell yes, like this is amazing. I've got control of my own destiny. I don't need to play the game all these other people are playing. So we're starting with the people or the companies that we know that are like the Onshoals of the world. Like they're open to alternative distribution methods, but we're not limiting it to Web3 because Web3 is too small. Like there's not enough game developers in Web3. I'm sure a lot of them are going to use it because they understand crypto. They understand why this is valuable. Actually, all of them that we've talked to are interested in integrating it. But we really think the opportunity is on the Web2 side, right? Like, so that's where we spend most of our time on the outreach side. And what's interesting about this is we're not just doing that outreach directly. We're not a game publisher. We're not in the business of being a game portal. We're distributing it everywhere. We're not taking the Apple App Store and replacing it with the Epic App Store and now replacing it with the Open Game Protocol App Store. We have no ambitions to do that. We don't think it's the answer to the problem. We think right now you have Tim Sweeney from Epic complaining about Tim Cook from Apple. He says 30% is too much. He says it should be 10%. Come to the Epic App Store. We'll give you 10%. Who the fuck cares? Like 30%, 10%. You're trading one Tim for another Tim. Why is 10% fair? Okay. Who says 10% is fair? It's so arbitrary. Oh, 30% isn't fair. 10% is fair. In a few years, if Tim Sweeney got his way, we're going to be saying, oh, the new Tim, 10% is way too much. It should be 3%, right? Like, at what point did we just say this is enough? Back to that original idea. Distribution is where people are happy to pay. No one complains about paying Facebook 70 cents on the dollar. Everyone complains about paying Apple 30%. Why is that? Because at Facebook, you get what you pay for. It's a market-driven system where you get as many users for your dollars as will be judged literally by how you bid it against other people that wanted the same users. It is completely fair. We know the appropriate price for a user in Facebook's ad system. So no one can complain, and they're happy to plow money into it. Whereas taking a cut on payments, it's like, what's fair? I mean, what's fair is as low as possible, right? As a game developer, I don't want to pay anything to anyone. So we're the 0% protocol, right? Like we don't take in-app purchases. We don't take ad revenue. We're just giving you new revenue, new users. And we don't want to build a new app store. We want to build the answer to fiat systems having a lot of issues was not to go build a better fiat, right? When we built Bitcoin is a new decentralized way of storing value and sharing money that solved the problems that all fiat has. We didn't need to go from an American dollar to the Japanese yen or to some new type of fiat sponsored on like Mars by Elon Musk. We needed Bitcoin. Like we needed something that everybody owns, right? We're in the same situation now. It's not about which app store. It's about how do we own a community layer where everybody participates in the upside that's governed by the people who drive the value to these apps so that instead of building another $1 trillion company and another Tim who dictates the price that everybody pays, that we actually all own it together. It's driven bottoms up from community. And we've solved the problem of having any one company controlling distribution or payments too much. That's like the longer term idea here. It's a holy war for me, right? Like I've been thinking about how we solve this problem for over a decade. We went through some pain, to say the least, in some of these transitions between platforms at Zynga and other places. And this is deep in the heart of a lot of game developers. Like we know that at the end of the day, we have to make a living, and that means making money and getting users to make money in the game. And those are the only two currencies that exist. And you got to put food on the table. You got to pay your team, and you can make great art when you do that. And our insight here is that like the crypto markets are excited about ideas that they can put their capital and their liquidity to use to go and create new things. But we have to build a system that like guarantees that, right, and makes it fair. So that's what we're doing.
We got to build the tent. How does OG protocol make money? And can you give us a little details about like, is there going to be an OG token? Like, what's your coming launch look like?
Yeah, so we make money on trading fees too. So like part of the trading fees will go to Open Game Protocol. And we do want to have a token. So we're not announcing anything on that specifically yet. And we won't launch with it. So we will launch with these game coins, like Fartcoin Game Coin, or the other ones that we'll be launching. I don't want to reveal too much on this podcast yet. There's a lot of ones that you've heard of that will be launching game coins.
A lot of alpha released on this podcast by everyone.
I'm giving plenty of alpha, but I can't give all the alpha, right? Then there'll be no alpha left.
There we go.
Look, So there's a bunch of there's a lot of coins you've heard of that are large coins that have been in touch with us directly that are going to do their best to push their community toward launching these game coins, because ultimately these are launched by the community, right? And that's what makes it cool. Like this isn't a way for just a token deployer to get another bag. It's about the community getting behind something and the people who are most excited about games becoming part of this. It doesn't need to be everybody. Like not everybody that owns Farcoin needs to be like, yes, game coin, but maybe there's 5% of people who love it, and like there's another sub community that's focused on that. That's what we're enabling. So
And are you using
yeah, I mean,
Meteora as well for the underlying like G tokens or the game tokens?
yeah, the game coins are on Meteora. So
Okay.
yeah, we've been working really closely with them.
Yeah, love Meteora. So that's awesome.
Yes, we're all excited about the upcoming token.
I think this is all fascinating. I think for me, it really kind of hit home here, where it didn't maybe elsewhere. So it's been an incredible conversation, Josh. I kind of got all the bases covered that I think I was really looking to. Do you have any more
Yeah, the
questions?
only last thing, just and I'm sorry, Justin, if I'm getting this wrong or we cover this, but this will be on mobile games as well. Like I'll download a Google Play Store game and be able to get it, or is it mobile web only?
We want this to work everywhere. Okay. So
Okay,
like
got
we
it.
are a reward layer. Think about us as like almost like Uniswap, right? Our ambition here is to be everywhere, and to sit in the background and to let games have the relationship with their user. So when you swap with Uniswap on like another DEX interface that's using them, you don't even always know where you're swapping or really even care, right? They're just in the background doing the work for you. Same with Jupiter, right? That's what we want to do for games. Like be the place where the rewards are for every token are allocated and governed and rewarded. But like let these people do what they do best, which is serve their customers directly with their own user interface, with their own login, with their own wallet connection. Let them do that, because we don't want to build a portal and a new login and a new. Like I said, we're not trying to be a new place that owns the relationship. We will facilitate it because not every game developer has a login to handle these rewards. So some of them want us to do it, and we'll give them an API to do it so that we can get everybody onboarded. But then there are game publishing platforms where people are making games and they're using our APIs to publish the games that people have created on their AI game creation platforms into our protocol. And they're using their own login to publish those games to those creators. And they're also, the rewards are being paid out directly on their site. And they never even need to mention Open Game Protocol exists. That's fine by us. So like we really are trying to build the infra layer here.
Got it. I just didn't know how Google and Apple with in-app payment, they have like a lot of stringent policy
Yeah.
around
There are
tokens.
no in-app payments going on here, right? That's part of the magic.
All
Like
right,
we're really
no
sitting at a layer.
IAP.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right, cool. I mean, that's it. That's it from my end.
Maybe
Justin, great to have you in ICM.run as well. Like as part of Prod, we're part of that contributors there. So we're really a huge fan.
Yeah, we're super excited. Like people showed up a couple days ago when we announced that. We were excited. We're just really happy to be part of it.
Yeah, what an incredible first incubation. I cannot wait for this. I guess as some closing thoughts here, we know we talked about it earlier. Gaming is like touted as one of the best ways to onboard mass markets. Crypto gaming go hand in hand. Maybe just leave us off with how is OG Protocol gonna be that missing piece that onboards the next million, 10 million, 100 million users?
Billion.
Billion.
Yeah, look, I'm not really going to be satisfied if it's not a billion. So and we may break all the chains in the process, so maybe that'll be the thing that holds us back. But look, we need to build a system that unifies all the people. Maybe what you're hearing here, when you hear all the complexity, it's because different people want different things. It's like Airbnb, like there were a bunch of houses that were out there that were underutilized, and then somebody built a network so that other people can use them. And so fundamentally, what we're doing is building a way for people to have these underutilized assets and all these amazing games that are already out there, and then all these amazing tokens that everybody already loves, and we're making it so easy for them to collaborate. No one has a reason to say no. And then we're taking all the wallets that have all this engagement, and they have no reasons to say no. Why wouldn't you do this? This is good for everybody. Yeah, there's an exercise in design that I think is really important, and like we're not going to declare victory. Okay, like this is a grand experiment too. I've been in startups long enough to know that like not everything you do works, but we've got a lot of conviction in this idea. And so what we hope to see happen is just that that this is such a reflexive flywheel that people get so excited about it that it becomes true. It's back to this idea of hyperstition. So you need to be like, we're looking for people who are in this for the long run and realize that the protocol will guarantee that there's a fairness to the way people are getting paid, that they're in control of, that then leads to the ecosystem we want to create together. And we're going to have to be flexible and making sure we actually like respond to what we see happening to make sure this works. Because this is a larger system where like there's a lot of stakeholders that need to be part of it and need to be happy for it to succeed. But the true north is pretty simple, which is like there's no crypto native game protocol that allows this type of interaction to happen, and everything in crypto centers around these tokens. And if we can be the team that builds it, like I think it could be something that lasts for a very long time. And for me, that's the personal goal. I think it probably could also be worth like a lot of money too. But honestly, like our main motivation here is again to build a community-owned layer that can distribute games with this that reflects what we think we see as the best in crypto, which is these communities. So yeah, excited about it.
It's awesome. You know, truly, I don't think anyone is more equipped than yourself to really take this on.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
The truth is, you did it. You thought outside the box with Zynga. People, like you said at the start of this show, people didn't think it was possible. Didn't really even expect it. Kind of came out of left field. And it's a very similar thing you're doing here, where no one was really ready for it. So I think you're the best person to take this on, and we'll be tracking it on MCG for the coming years.
Well, I appreciate that. And I'll say one thing, which is like, we've been in crypto long enough to know too, that it's like literally impossible for this product to work without a strong community. It just doesn't work, right? Like this is a bottoms up community driven project. This is not a game where we're just selling you some NFTs to finance us building the game.
You've been around since like when 2017. I see you've worked with a couple of different projects.
Yeah, Decentraland, Immutable. Is it Dapper Labs from the CryptoKitties days? I've been trying to stay involved with the game stuff on crypto because there's always been a lot of potential, and I still help some of those teams. But honestly, like the ability to build something that's just like massive scale and solves this problem for companies in a way where like they don't even need to care about crypto, but it still solves the thing they care the most about. I think this is a very recent opportunity. I think the design, the technology to do this just came about in like the last year or year and a half. And so we got excited because like for me, it was the first thing that I felt like, oh wow, we can really go and make a dent like the way these last major shifts in the past have made.
Cool, man. Well, between ICM.run, Meteor, and the community you guys have built, you got a good community. So, man, great conversation, Justin. Thanks for talking to us today.
I'll have you back in the new year. See how it's all going.
Awesome. Yes, let's do it. Cool. Thanks, guys. Chat soon.
Have a good night. Yeah.
See ya.